The womb cradles not life but ruin. Book of Cain Kos, butchered at the fishing hamlet, bore a child whose soul was not born of love but a fracture. Biogenworth scholars spilled his blood to forge the Elden Ring, yet their sin gnaws inward. The Tidepool's infant, butchered at the still and fishing pail, soul to breach the bore a child whose covenant that soul was not binds it, born of love but a fracture. What was Gwyn trying to preserve when he sealed the womb's curse beneath stars? The lands between tremble, unaware their salvation festers in a cradle of salt and bone. The Elden Ring's fractures are not floss-thee, are fail-safes. Kos child, cradled in the Tidepool's venom, is the key to a lock carved into divine law. To birth this weapon is to unweave the great runes, unraveling the constellations that bind the lands between. Marika's ascension was not defiance but compliance, her splintered gods a chorus of compromised covenants. What waits in the salt-crusted swaddle is no savior. It is the last echo of a pact the gods buried, a soul unmarked by their corruption. When the tarnished kneel to crown or kill, they unknowingly align the trigger. The cycle is not broken, it is being fulfilled. And the constellation falls. The fishing hamlet stones remember, blood pooled in tidal rhythms where Kos fell great one, mother, martyr. Biogenworth's robes dripped with his essence as they carved the Covenant's first wound. What did they seek in his womb? A heresy beyond death. The child sleeps in brine, cradled by rot, not a soul to be saved, but a lever. A soul split by twin curses, life born of murder, flesh woven with the nightmare's first thread. The scholars did not corrupt the Elden Ring, they planted a seed. Kos' blood turned the tides. His killers knew to unmake a god's power, breed its antithesis in the womb of the world. The baby's cries are silent. Its eyes will open when the constellation shatters. The tarnished kneel, blind to the altar beneath their hands. The ring's collapse is no accident, it is a harvest, and the child's first breath will be the end of endings. The text lies buried in blood-stained stone. Forgotten prayers crumble beneath the fishing hamlet's bones, a crime too terrible to name. Kos' unborn child was not cradled in light. It bled into the Tidepool's dark milka wound given form, the nightmare's original sin. What kind of covenant demands such sacrifice? The Elden Ring's threads unravel here. A dormant weapon, yes, but not forged to save. To sever, the gods wove their power through Kos' veins. The child's soul was the needle. Now it festers in the salt water, waiting for a hand to pluck it from its cradle of rot. The ruins whisper warnings, the world itself hides this truth. Why? Because the baby's first cry will not echo with hope. It will fracture the ring's architecture. The divine fabric, already fraying at the edges of Marika's dominion, will shed like dead skin. A collapse not of decay but of design. Kos' vengeance born in the womb becomes the key, and you, reader. You who trace these words in the ash of Endingsto, you seek to stop it, or witness it. The narrator does not fight the tide. The narrator knows the ring's fall is written in the blood of its creators. The child is not a symbol, it is the trigger, the final breath of a god's last sigh. The world forgets because it must. To remember is to hold the weight of inevitability. The Tidepool's baby sleeps. But the sea does not forget, and when the storm comes, it will not be born of hope. It will be born of a mother's curse. The archives whisper in blood. Biogenworth did not unearth old blood to heal, they harvested it to weaponize. The healing church's hymns mask the screams of Kos. Each vial of sacred oil is a shackle forged in the mother's pyre. The child in the Tidepool is no innocent, its breath carries the rot of the Marika's ring. Biogenworth scholars knew, the old blood does not heal, it devours. Their sanctified rites are blueprints for a coup. They never sought to contain the child, they engineered it. A key, a lock, a detonator. The nightmare's corruption is no accident. It is inheritance. The same hands that penned the healing church's doctrines wrote the algorithms of the Elden Ring's collapse. Divinity has always been a parasite in a priest's robe. The gods do not fault thee are pushed. You have walked their sanctuaries. Tasted their wine, believed their lies. The child's wail in the Tidepool is not a lullaby, it is a countdown. The sea does not forget, it waits, and when the wrong soul kneels to pray, the old blood will rise. Not as salvation, as retribution. The covenant of Kos was never broken, it was borrowed. The mother's curse is a code. And every relic you've clutched, every prayer you've spat, has been the spark to a pyre you cannot outrun. The Erd tree's fade ashes or unyielding betrays a god's hesitation. Marika's ascension planted it, her fractured will now cracks its roots. The child in the Tidepool is not a symbol but a cipher, a dormant wound, a counterspell. The same rot that gnaws the Erd tree festers in that cradled skull. Kos infant does not weep, it hums with the same hunger that hollows the stars. The Elden Ring's collapse was never the first wound, it was the second. The first split open when Marika tore her own light to build this throne. Her tree grows on a grave. And the baby in the brine is the key, a weapon forged in the womb of a dying covenant, not to save. Not to heal but to unmake, the nightmare's corruption, a mirror, the Erd tree's blight, a twin. Both born of the same stolen ascension, both waiting for a soul bold or broken enough to turn the lock. You see it now, the pattern. The curse is not in the mother's blood, it's in the trees, in the child's. In the very act of becoming God. The lands between tremble not from the ring's fall, but from what was buried beneath it. A child's breath is the spark. And the pyre has already begun to burn. The Elden Ring's corruption is often blamed on Godwin's soul murder, not Kos' child, but Marika shattered the ring after that act. Why? If the child was already a threat, why delay? Unless what if the fracture was not a reaction but a ritual, a severance. Marika, for all her sight, could not see what Kos had woven. The child was no weapon against the gods. It was a key to unlock something older than divinity. The corruption in the ring was not the cause. It was the symptom, the sickness and the cure, bound as one. And Marika, in breaking the ring, unmade the only chain holding them apart. The Tidepool's baby sleeps, but chains rust. It is a cipher, invites the knife. The child in the Tidepool is no accident, it is a cipher. A weapon forged in the void between stars, its soul a scar where Kos carved divinity's weaknesses into flesh. The Elden Ring was never meant to last, it was a patch, a lie stitched over a wound the baby was built to reopen. Marika's fracture of the ring didn't shatter a relic, it unchained a lock. The tarnished are not saviors, they are the spark. Every soul that grasps the broken fragments risks igniting the child's purpose. Reforge the ring, and you mend a gilded cage. Awaken the baby, and you unmake the gods. The covenant of Kos was never about balance. It was about leverage insurance against the tyrant's hubris. Divinity is a rot, Marika's light festers. The ring's corruption is not a flaw. It is a message. Kos' child sleeps beneath salt and stone, its breath a countdown. The tarnished hands are not clean. They carry the key, they carry the fuse. Whoever wields the knife next will decide if the land's between burn or breathe. But chains rust, and rust invites the knife. Chains rust, and rust invites the knife. The Tidepool's wail is no lullaby, it is the first crack in the divine hourglass. If Kos' child is the fuse, then every age is a match struck against the dark. The tarnished do not choose. They inherit the flame. Link the fragments, let the stars bleed. Crown yourself in ash, each path is a matchstick snapped in the same hand. The gods built a house of mirrors, and the baby's tears are the acid. What was forged to mend the Elden Ring now seeps through its seams. The cycle is not a loop. It is a wound reopening, a design flaw dressed as destiny. The moon's hollow eyes have watched this before. Every golden age was a countdown, every savior a puppet with a time bomb in the chest. The child does not weep for salvation, it weeps to remember, to unravel the weft from the warp. To make the gods taste their own dust, the narrator does not weep, the narrator kneels. The end is not a failure rate, is the signature, the final line in a ledger written in starlight and bone. What good is a choice when the knife is already at the throat? When the tarnished shadow is the shadow of the executioner, the lands between breathe, then burn. And the baby's laugh is the echo of the funeral pyre. What was never meant to be fixed will not be fixed. What was never meant to end will not end. The gods built their thrones on a fault line. And the fault line remembers every name. The fault line does not ask asterisk why asterisk the child sleeps. It only waits. What if the Tidepool's child is not a blessing but a lockpicked future, a coiled spring in the god's marrow? The game did not whisper "Thissit, let the silence fester." And in that hollow you might find the truth. Kos' gift was never meant to heal asterisk. Each ripple in the pool is a tick of the bomb's clock, the Elden rings rot. A mirror for what the child will unmake. You think the gods are falling. No, they are remembering how to burn. The question is not whether the baby will wake, it is who will hold it when the fire starts. The comments hold more answers than this script, or perhaps fewer. What matters is this: the fault line is patient. Will you obey? The fault line does not ask why the child sleeps, it only waits. What if the Tidepool's child is not a blessing, but a lockpicked future, a coiled spring in the god's marrow? The game did not whisper "Thissit, let the silence fester." And in that hollow you might find the truth. Kos' gift was never meant to heal. Each ripple in the pool is a tick of the bomb's clock, the Elden rings rot. A mirror for what the child will unmake. You think the gods are falling. No, they are remembering how to burn. The question is not whether the baby will wake, it is who will hold it when the fire starts. The comments hold more answers